look at what happened with politics this year, people sort of stripped away a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what you believed in, maybe we were playing things a little too close.
Jamie Foxx recently appeared on a talk show, and what happened during that segment quickly turned into something far bigger than anyone expected. While the actor and comedian is known for his spot-on impressions, this particular one of President Donald Trump caught the internet completely off guard. The accuracy was almost unsettling. Within hours, clips of Foxx's impersonation began making the rounds online, sparking waves of conversation and reaction from all corners of the web. It all started off lighthearted enough. Foxx, relaxed and laughing with the host, suddenly slipped into a full-blown Trump impression that included everything from the voice and tone to facial expressions, hand gestures, and that famously exaggerated pout. What was supposed to be a quick comedic moment soon spiraled into viral chaos. People who watched the clip didn't just laugh, they were stunned. Not just because it was funny, but because it was so convincingly close to the real thing. Social media platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram lit up almost instantly. On Twitter, hashtags related to Foxx and Trump trended for hours, with users posting reactions ranging from genuine disbelief to full-blown admiration. TikTok creators began stitching the clip into their own content, using it as a springboard for memes, commentary, and even duet-style reactions. Some were laughing at the absurdity. Others were praising Foxx for his talent. But nearly everyone seemed to agree on one thing. It was one of the best Trump impressions they'd ever seen. What made it even more compelling was how naturally Foxx slipped into the role. There wasn't a dramatic build-up or a warning that something big was about to happen. One moment he was speaking in his usual tone, and the next he was echoing Trump's voice with eerie precision. The cadence, the repetition, the slight nasal quality, it was all there. He even mimicked the strange way Trump pauses mid-sentence or randomly jumps to unrelated thoughts. Watching it felt like seeing someone channel another person entirely. The audience on the show immediately erupted. Laughter filled the room, and the host nearly fell out of his seat trying to keep it together. It wasn't just a good impression. It was an act that clearly hit a nerve, in a good way for some, and less so for others. Even people who typically support Trump or avoid political comedy couldn't help but acknowledge how sharp Foxx's impression was. It didn't feel mean-spirited or overly critical. It was just a mirror held up to someone whose public persona is already larger than life. But while a large portion of the internet was busy laughing, not everyone found it funny. According to some online commentary and reports from individuals close to Trump's camp, the former president didn't take the impression lightly. Although no official statement was released at the time, insiders claimed he was not amused and considered the impression disrespectful. That reaction only fueled the fire. As often happens online, any attempt to criticize or shut down a viral moment usually ends up giving it more attention, and this case was no different. The more people talked about Trump's supposed reaction, the more clips of Foxx's impression were shared. Users dug up old interviews, previous impressions, and even placed Foxx's Trump alongside other well-known portrayals, like Alec Baldwin's version from Saturday Night Live, to compare and contrast. Some even argued that Foxx had officially taken the crown for the most believable Trump impersonation to date. That claim, whether subjective or not, quickly became part of the online narrative. It's worth noting that Foxx has a long history of doing high-quality impressions. He's mimicked a range of celebrities, musicians, and public figures over the years, often adding his own unique twist to each one. But there was something about this Trump impression that stood out. Maybe it was the timing, maybe it was the delivery, or maybe it was because it wasn't expected. Whatever the reason, the moment clearly struck a chord. The hand movements in particular caught a lot of attention. Foxx didn't just imitate the voice, he captured the body language too. From the characteristic squint to the way Trump holds his hands while speaking, those small, seemingly insignificant details added a whole new layer of realism. These weren't just caricatured movements. They were precise enough that, in a quick glance or with poor lighting, someone might actually mistake Foxx for Trump in a video clip. While the reaction online was mostly positive, a few users raised concerns about whether celebrity impressions of political figures blur the line between comedy and influence. That's not a new conversation. It's one that's come up many times before, especially during the Trump presidency, when comedians and late-night hosts often used satire to make broader points about the state of politics. In this case, though, the general mood seemed more relaxed. Most people treated the impression as a bit of fun rather than a targeted political statement. What was also interesting was how quickly different communities on the internet picked it up. It wasn't just political junkies or late-night comedy fans. Pop culture pages, meme accounts, and even general entertainment platforms began sharing it. Within 24 hours, Foxx's impression was everywhere, and people from all walks of life had seen or heard about it. Some platforms even featured side-by-side edits comparing the real Trump with Foxx's version, and viewers were genuinely amazed at how hard it was to tell them apart, especially just from the audio. Part of what made this all so surprising was that it wasn't pre-planned. It wasn't a sketch or a produced comedy bit. Foxx didn't go on the show to debut a new impression or make headlines. It happened naturally, in the moment, which probably explains why it resonated the way it did. There's something about unscripted humor, when someone's just being themselves and having fun, that tends to connect with people in a different way. It feels more authentic, and in this case, that authenticity added to the overall impact. After Jamie Foxx's Trump impression took off online, what followed was a full-on internet storm. Within minutes of the original clip making its way onto social media, reactions came pouring in from every direction. Twitter threads, TikTok remixes, Instagram reels, and YouTube commentaries flooded the digital space. It wasn't just a trending moment anymore. It was a viral explosion that reached across platforms, demographics, and even political lines. On TikTok, the clip was reshared and remixed into hundreds of variations. Users added background music, looped specific lines, and even inserted Foxx's impression into mock campaign ads. Some videos featured users mimicking Trump's infamous rally dance moves while lip-syncing to Foxx's voice. One creator edited the clip so it looked like Trump was beatboxing over EDM. While clearly satirical, it showed just how far the impression had traveled in such a short span of time. Meanwhile, over on YouTube, creators quickly jumped on the wave. Reaction videos started appearing within hours, with some commentators pausing every few seconds just to point out how accurate Foxx's mimicry really was. Others created side-by-side comparisons with real Trump speeches, noting just how hard it was to tell them apart. A few channels even ran polls asking viewers who did the better Trump, Jamie Foxx or Alec Baldwin. But it wasn't just casual viewers getting in on the action. Late-night television shows immediately took notice. Producers scrambled to spin the viral clip into fresh comedy segments. Stephen Colbert aired a mock interview featuring Foxx's Trump, complete with exaggerated satellite delay effects and bizarre answers about hair care routines and the invention of interviews. At one point, Foxx's Trump claimed he was the first person to ever speak on live TV, and Colbert could barely keep a straight face. Jimmy Kimmel followed up with a comedy bit that staged a fictional debate between Foxx and Alec Baldwin, each portraying their version of Trump. The crowd loved it. Every exaggerated phrase, every interruption, every bizarre Trumpism sent the studio into fits of laughter. Baldwin leaned into the slow, deliberate delivery Trump is known for, while Foxx focused on the quick, repetitive speech patterns. The result was a surreal comedy duel, with both actors feeding off the crowd's energy. Not to be left behind, Seth Meyers took a slightly different route. Instead of jumping into impressions, he focused on the physical side of Trump's persona, specifically his hair. Using a cotton candy machine, a mannequin head, and a leaf blower, Meyers tried to replicate Trump's unique hairstyle. Spoiler, it didn't hold up under pressure. But it was all in good fun, and it highlighted just how deeply Foxx's impression had permeated the late-night scene. While all of this was happening, meme culture had fully embraced the moment. Twitter users shared photoshopped images of Foxx's Trump on the White House lawn, on the cover of fake political memoirs, and even arm wrestling the real Trump. One viral image showed a golden escalator with Foxx 2024 written across it, a cheeky nod to Trump's original campaign entrance. Another meme showed Foxx's Trump trying to sell a line of fictional steaks, poking fun at past Trump-branded ventures. Each post gained thousands of likes and shares, further fueling the fire. Facebook, often considered a slower platform compared to Twitter and TikTok, eventually caught up too. What really signaled how widespread the clip had become was when users across generations began sharing it. Grandparents who usually post holiday photos or inspirational quotes were suddenly uploading clips of Jamie Foxx doing a Trump impression. Some captioned it with laughing emojis, others with mild political commentary. Either way, it showed that the impression had crossed generational lines, a rare feat in today's digital world. Snapchat even got involved by releasing a Foxx Trump filter. It allowed users to record themselves with an altered face and voice, designed to look and sound like Foxx's version of Trump. People began flooding the platform with their own takes on excuse me, and a lot of great people, phrases that had already become iconic in Foxx's rendition. The filter only added to the wave, drawing in even more people who might not have seen the original video. As this was unfolding, the question on many people's minds was whether Donald Trump himself had seen the impression, and what he thought of it. That curiosity didn't last long. According to reports and screenshots circulating online, Trump responded on his social media platform, posting in his usual all-caps style. He called Foxx a low-energy actor, a dig that many pointed out was ironic coming from someone who famously used the same phrase on political opponents. He also called the impression fake news, adding that it was just another example of media bias. What made the whole situation even funnier to many people online was the fact that Trump misspelled Foxx's name in one of his posts. Instead of Jamie Foxx, he simply wrote Jamie Foxx. Users were quick to pounce on the mistake, joking that even spell check had become part of the so-called fake news conspiracy. Memes popped up within minutes, with captions like, "Spell check is canceled," and "Maybe autocorrect is deep state too." And just like that, Trump's angry posts only made the situation worse for him. Every time he lashed out online, the original clip gained more views, more shares, and more attention. It was like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Commentators and comedians alike pointed out that Trump's response was, in its own way, validation that Foxx had nailed the impression. After all, if it hadn't struck a nerve, there wouldn't have been such an aggressive response. At the same time, some political commentators started to weigh in more seriously. While most of the attention was still focused on the humor, a few analysts began asking questions about the impact of celebrity satire on public opinion. Could something like this actually influence how people see a political figure? Was Foxx's performance just entertainment, or was it shaping a broader public narrative? On one hand, it's easy to dismiss the entire event as just another viral moment. But when you step back and consider the scale of it, there's more to think about. Jamie Foxx wasn't part of a planned sketch. He wasn't promoting a political message or trying to stir up controversy. He was simply doing what he does best, performing. And it just happened to hit at the perfect time, in the perfect way. The result was a blend of comedy, cultural commentary, and digital mayhem that captured people's attention across the board. Just when it seemed like Jamie Foxx's Trump impression had reached its peak, things took another unexpected turn. The internet was still buzzing, but the tone started to shift. What began as a hilarious moment shared for laughs was now being looked at under a new light. Analysts, commentators, and even political experts began stepping in, trying to unpack what this viral sensation really meant, and whether it was more than just a moment of comedy. News segments began popping up on both sides of the political spectrum. Some cable news outlets approached the impression from a cultural perspective, exploring how celebrity satire can shape public conversation. On CNN, a few panelists treated the clip almost like an academic study, dissecting the voice, gestures, and word choices Foxx used in the impression. One political analyst claimed the way Foxx raised his pinky while saying China could be seen as an intentional nod to Trump's controversial relationship with China during his presidency. Another panelist pointed out the way Foxx repeated phrases like, "excuse me," and "a lot of great people," as a reflection of Trump's rhetorical style. To the average viewer, all of this probably felt like a bit of a stretch. For most people, the impression was just that, a sharp, funny performance. But it was interesting to see how far-reaching the moment had become. What started as an impromptu bit on a talk show couch was now being examined by political scientists and communication theorists as an example of modern political satire. It didn't matter that Fox wasn't trying to make a point. People were taking their own messages from it anyway. Over on Fox News, the tone was noticeably different. Instead of laughing it off, a few pundits suggested that this was part of a larger agenda. One host floated the idea that the entertainment industry was using impressions like this to subtly influence public opinion against Trump. Another commentator suggested, with a straight face, that this could be the work of so-called Hollywood elites who were intentionally using comedy as a tool to shape political narratives. It might sound far-fetched to some, but it showed how deeply this simple moment of comedy had sunk into the national conversation. The conversation didn't stop there. Think pieces began circulating online, written by professors, journalists, and political bloggers. Some explored whether satire like this could genuinely sway voters or change the way people engage with politics. Others argued that impressions don't just mock public figures, they also highlight how exaggerated some real-life behaviors have become. In Fox's case, the impression wasn't just accurate, it was so accurate that it made people realize how surreal Trump's public persona already is. At the same time, everyday users on platforms like Reddit, Instagram, and Twitter started turning the impression into something bigger. People joked that Foxx should run for president as Trump, claiming he'd probably get more votes based on performance alone. Others made mock campaign posters, replacing Trump's image with Foxx in full impression mode. One video even edited a fictional campaign ad titled Foxx 2024, complete with patriotic music and a fake voiceover that declared, "Make comedy great again." Some of these jokes, surprisingly, started to turn into more serious conversations. A few people pointed out that if Trump could become president as a reality TV star, then it wasn't totally absurd to imagine a talented comedian stepping into the spotlight. Others said that if public figures are going to embrace celebrity culture, then they should expect the same level of critique and imitation from the entertainment world. Whether those ideas were meant seriously or not, they added another layer to the already complex moment. Meanwhile, Foxx himself remained mostly quiet. He didn't rush to make a statement or follow up with another impression. Instead, he let the moment speak for itself. This silence only added to the impact. With Trump reacting, the media analyzing, and the internet laughing, Fox's decision to sit back made it clear that he wasn't trying to steer the conversation. He had already said everything he needed to with the performance itself. The more Trump responded, the more viral the impression became. Every time he posted about it, a new wave of memes would follow. Every typo, every outburst, every attempt to discredit the impression added more fuel to the fire. At some point, it seemed like Trump's reactions were doing more to promote the clip than anyone else. And the internet wasn't about to let that opportunity go to waste. Across late-night television, the impression continued to dominate segments. Colbert aired follow-ups, showing fake news reports that featured Fox's Trump discussing everything from fast food to space exploration. Kimmel ran another bit that had Foxx Trump reviewing music albums, giving 5 stars to Death Row Records, while refusing to comment on anything from loser artists. Even Saturday Night Live referenced the impression in a Weekend Update sketch, nodding to how much attention it had pulled away from everything else in the news. But beyond the laughs, there was a real cultural shift happening. This impression had sparked one of those rare moments online where people from different backgrounds and political leanings all stopped to appreciate something simple: talent. Regardless of where people stood politically, many could agree that what Jamie Foxx did was objectively impressive. It was a reminder that sometimes humor can cut through the noise in a way that traditional media can't. And maybe that's what made this moment feel so different. We live in a time where politics often feels exhausting, where outrage is constant and everyone's always arguing. But here was something that made people pause, not to fight, but to laugh. Foxx didn't deliver a speech or make a political stand. He simply did what he does best: perform. And that performance reached more people than most televised debates or campaign ads could ever hope to. There's also something to be said about the timing. In a year where political fatigue is at an all-time high and public trust in institutions continues to drop, something as lighthearted as a good impression offered a rare moment of levity. It was like a release valve for the pressure that so many people are feeling. And even though it started as a joke, the ripple effects showed how powerful comedy can be when it taps into the public mood. Toward the end of the media cycle, more serious conversations began to wrap around the impression. Journalists and academics revisited the role of satire in democracy, questioning whether comedians have become more effective at communicating political realities than journalists. Some agreed, citing how moments like this often reach millions without ever needing a headline. Others warned that relying too much on satire can blur the line between reality and parody, making it harder for audiences to separate fact from entertainment. Still, despite the heavier analysis, the internet had mostly moved on in the way it always does. The impression that had once dominated every feed began to fade slightly as the next viral moment took its place. But for those few weeks, Jamie Foxx's Trump wasn't just a performance. It became a cultural event. A reminder of how quickly something unexpected can take over, and how the right combination of talent, timing, and authenticity can spark a wildfire online. Looking back, it wasn't just about mocking Trump. It wasn't even really about politics. It was about the strange intersection of entertainment, identity, and public perception. It was about how familiar mannerisms, once exaggerated enough, start to feel unreal. And how someone like Foxx, with a gift for performance and timing, can hold up a mirror and make us see things a little more clearly, even if we're just laughing along the way. In the end, Jamie Foxx didn't set out to start a conversation about politics, culture, or influence. He just made people laugh. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway. In a world that feels more divided and complicated than ever, sometimes a really good joke, a well-timed impression, can bring people together in a way that speeches and campaigns never will.